In today's video, we are going to be talking more about ADHD and we are getting right into the practical aspect of it. If you're anything like me, we know that running a business with ADHD can be both a blessing and a curse. There are so many great things about it and so many things that, we can acknowledge that maybe need a little bit of changing our environment to make it easier for us to function. So, if you're comfortable, leave a comment in the chat if you are part of the ADHD club. I love talking about this because I think it's something that can help people both with ADHD and, other people who just like resonate with the different aspects of it that might come up for you. But like I said, in this video and on this episode, we are talking about all things hacks, practical, and I'm going to be sharing some examples of how to make running a business with ADHD as smooth as possible so that we don't all have mentee bees. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and I am a physical therapist and a business coach for other PTs and healthcare providers. And through our program here called DPT to CEO, we help people just like you go from working in corporate healthcare and in the clinic to running successful solo practices, cash-based practices. So if that is something of interest to you and you are looking for guidance along the way, definitely check out the information that we have on our business coaching program at morganmeese.com. It's called DPT to CEO, and the links will be down below. So let's get into it. Starting off with, we have a few different tips. I think we're going to be going over 5 different tips, kind of ADHD proof your life and the systems that you use, or just make things easier for you because we're all busy. We all have a lot of stuff going on. And I think these tips will help you either way. And then the 6th bonus piece, if you stick around to the end, we're going to be talking about ADHD in business and why it's actually a good thing. Tip number 1, we are going to get into time blocking. On previous videos, this is something that I have talked about as far as like time management for new business owners go, and in previous ADHD videos as well, but I cannot recommend it enough. It is something that helps in so many ways, and we'll go over like a few different tips with this, but I think like starting off with, like I said, there's so much to do all the time, just like in life. And then also when you add business on top of it, it can get really overwhelming. But when we start to use the concept of time blocking, what I think it really boils down to is it takes away a lot of decision fatigue for us, which makes things, I know, a lot less stressful for me and easier to execute on the many things that need to get done. And if you're not familiar with what time blocking is, there are tons of tutorials on YouTube on how to do time blocking, and I'm just going to be showing you a short example. Basically, you take a look at your week as a whole, Sunday through Saturday, Monday through Sunday, whatever week template feels best to you. And then you can take a look at your obligations that you have between work, family, yourself, other things that might be going on, and you can block them out in your calendar to start to create a weekly routine. And then if there are other things that you want to be allotting time for, different things to work on, you can actually theme different like blocks of time or days, shifts throughout the week where you can work on specific things. And then when it comes to deciding what to do when, you can put that information into your different time blocks. So for example, if I have a time block set out for content creation and I know I want to make this video and another video, I know that on Sundays, that's what I mostly do, is just content creation. So I know on Sunday, I will be working on making these videos versus on Thursday, I have a 2 or 3 hour time block dedicated to admin. So doing things like signing notes, answering emails will all happen during that time frame. So I hope that makes sense. But like I said, I'll be showing you an example of what like a time blocking template could look like. And let me know in the comments down below if this is something that you've tried and how it went. And when it comes to time blocking, I think to help make yourself most successful, something that always helps me is giving myself more time than I think. So if I think I need 2 hours to make 2 YouTube videos, for example, I'll give myself 3 hours to make sure that I definitely have enough time to get everything done. Or if I think I need like an hour to do my weekly reset routine, I usually give myself about an hour and a half, or I plan on it. So then that way I have plenty of time, and the time blindness that sometimes can come up with ADHD isn't as big of a deal because I've given myself the buffer that I need to comfortably get everything done. And then, before we get into showing the example, something else I've been doing for probably the past year or so that has been really helpful for me with getting things done is using my calendar as my to-do list. So I use a bunch of different tools to help me keep track of the things that I need to get done. But when it comes to planning out my week and planning out my month and actually deciding when I'm going to work on things, I will plug in time on my calendar at like as an event to accomplish a certain task. So say like I need to spend an hour signing all of my documentation from the past couple of weeks. I plug that in on my calendar like an event so that I know that I have the time available and I don't overschedule myself. Compared to like what I used to do is I would only put things like events and appointments on my Google Calendar and I'd have all this white space and then I would write down all of my like tasks for the week and for the day on paper. And so I had a running task list, which was, fine, like better than nothing. But I would end up getting really overwhelmed because I would always have 20 or 30 different tasks to complete and I would never have enough time to do it. But when I actually started putting those tasks onto my Google Calendar as events, it helped to make the time a lot more tangible for me. So I had a better understanding of how many tasks I could actually get done in a certain time period instead of overscheduling myself. So hopefully that all makes sense. And let me know if you have any questions on that or need clarification. But to show you an example of like if you're, like new to time blocking, this is something that we do inside the DPT to CEO program in phase 1 is kind of planning out, we call it like the ideal week template, but it's really like a time blocking template of how you want to be spending your time. And we can start here and then over like the weeks and months to come, as you are scheduling new things, new events, new aspects of your life, you can compare it to your ideal week template to see if, reality and what you want to be doing are matching up. And if not, you can make the necessary adjustment. But we make this in Google Sheets, or you could use Excel as well. It's just a simple sheet here. And this is just an example. I am by no means telling you like this is the perfect way to time block your schedule. This is not even what my daily week looks like right now. This is just an example. So, it's always going to be different for everybody. And you can also change it. You might find that like every 3 to 6 months or so, you might need to slightly change your schedule, and that's okay too. So, just to kind of show you like the different aspects here, obviously, like on the left, we have the different times of day. And so, like, that might change for you just depending on what you want to be time blocking. I do want to bring your attention to the theme section for each day. That's something that can also help as well, is just kind of like theming what you're doing that day. So I know for me, like on Sundays, I usually work Sunday through Thursday right now. And on Sundays, I don't have any appointments. It's mainly like admin time, content creation, planning things out. And so I could have like a theme for that day would be like admin and content. And like Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday are my heavy client days. And Tuesday can be kind of a mix. I do have some people that I've worked with where like learning new things is really important to them. So they spend like the entirety of one day learning new things. So any of that is great, but you can kind of like theme your days and that can help with scheduling clients as well. We have like our morning routine, working out. So taking care of ourselves, really important, right? Whatever kind of exercise you're doing. And then there's something called a daily preview that I used to do a little bit more of since I've been using my Google Calendar, like as my task list and planner. I don't do that as much because it's all there, like at a glance. But the daily preview you can think of as like taking a few minutes to take a look at your schedule for the day and deciding on your tasks for that day to see what's going to get done. There are things called focus blocks where you spend, a couple solid hours working on something specific like sales, marketing, admin things. Client blocks here, that can be really helpful when you're getting started, especially if like you're just working like full-time for yourself and you don't have another job or anything. Planning out what appointment slots you have available and sticking to them is really helpful versus just taking clients whenever, wherever. In the end, it's not going to set you up for success. It's going to be too chaotic. And then down here, daily review, if that's something that you're into, and having dinner. So having like a cutoff time, I think, for the day is good, especially as like a busy business owner, because it's very easy. And I don't know if this is just like entrepreneurs in general, the ADHD, both, but it's very easy to get hyper focused in on your work, especially when you like what you do. And then you'll just keep going. But you need to have a cutoff. You need to have space away to allow yourself to rest, reset. Space away is also great for creativity. So just something to think about here. But this is just an example of something that you could use, a way that you could do things if you're considering getting into time blocking and just wondering where to start. And then speaking of self-care habits, that is tip number 2 in today's video. It is, I think, like, here's the way that I look at my brain, or I think about my brain, is like, everybody will say sometimes like it's sort of like a computer, right? Like it's processing things all the time. And on any given day, I only have a certain amount of memory or RAM in my brain where I can handle so many processes. And if I find myself running at 100% for too long, my computer is going to it's going to freeze. Like it's going to run too hot, it's going to freeze, and it's going to shut down. And that's just like, it's just not what we want to do. So to prevent that, we're going to clear our cache, so to speak, a little bit more frequently than you probably feel like you need to, in order to keep yourself running smoothly and not get too overwhelmed. So something that I really like to do that kind of helps to like boot up my computer gently in the beginning of the day is having a little morning routine. Mine's maybe about an hour probably, and I'll show you an example of it too. But I start the day doing something for myself rather than jumping into like looking at things for other people. So whether it's messages or emails or what have you, I focus on myself in the morning, and it kind of gets me like all squared away to handle everything that's going to happen that day. So I don't look at my email, I don't look at my social media, I don't respond to text messages. I leave my phone on do not disturb for as long as possible in the morning, for usually like the first hour and a half that I'm awake. And I still look at my phone because, as I'll show you, another tip that helps me is any kind of like habit or routine that I'm trying to get into, I write down all of the steps for it. So this is sort of maybe like tip 2B is to make it easier to develop routines and habits. I literally like write out a standard operating procedure for them, like for myself. It's a personal SOP, because then again, like it saves me from the decision fatigue and having to decide what to do next. I just list out all the steps that I want to take, and it makes it so much easier to actually execute on them. So like I think the morning routine is a great example of this, and I'll share my screen here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But when I knew that I wanted to develop a morning routine again for myself to like fill up my cup in the morning, I don't want to have to remember everything every day. So I just wrote everything down. So in the morning, I get up at whatever time. Usually it's somewhere between like 5 and 5:30. I've also been trying to balance like getting a little bit more sleep as well. And then like the first 10-15 minutes, I'm spent like washing my face, getting some water, getting some coffee, and kind of like settling in on the couch downstairs. And then I read for about 15 to 20 minutes. Usually in the morning specifically, I read a nonfiction book that's like business or self-development related. And then I spend about 10 to 15 minutes journaling. And then I've been using Duolingo to practice my Spanish. So I'll do that for a few minutes. And then I take my dog for a walk. And I have all of this written down and in a little checklist, and I open the checklist on my phone. And as I go through everything, I check it off, and I know exactly what to do every day to get the things done that I want to do. And I don't have to remember it every day. And that is definitely what has helped me like keep up with it for this long. Let's see. We're getting into tip number 3, apps and tools for productivity. So the first thing that I always recommend, because this helps me so much, and this is like my tried and true that I've used for years, like probably since I was in college, is a to-do list app called TickTick. And the reason that I love this is because it makes checklists, right? But you can schedule a time for all your tasks. You can schedule a date, of course. And then, like on your phone, on your mobile device, the way that the reminders work is that they're sticky. So, like, I'll get a reminder to do whatever, at a certain time. And then, unless I click snooze, which is also a nice feature, like I can snooze the reminder for a few hours or until tomorrow, and then it will remind me again. Or I can click complete. Unless I click complete or snooze, the reminder stays in the notification list. So it doesn't like go away. So I keep seeing it. And a big part of, I think, like ADHD proofing things is keeping things very visual. And so as long as I have that reminder in front of me, I will continue to remember to do the thing. And so TickTick is great. And at least right now, like I just use the free version too, but it has a ton of different features. And this is not a sponsored post, sponsored video or anything. I don't even think I have an affiliate link, but it's been really helpful. And I have it in a widget on the home screen of my phone. So as things come up throughout the day, anything that needs to get done and I need to remember, I will go straight into my TickTick widget and click to add a task and click like, remind me tonight at 7 p.m. to do this thing, to contact this client, for example. And then I have put that task into a tool outside of my brain, and I no longer have to manage that task in my brain. It's in the tool that I'm using, and that also helps to keep like my computer from not like running at 100% capacity, right? Because I don't have to like manage those extra tasks in my brain. So anyway, love TickTick. It's been great ever since I started using it. And then I've talked about this before, but I use Notion as like a massive project management system, primarily for business. I do use it for some personal planning, but it's mostly for business stuff. And Notion has been great to keep like all of our big plans and projects organized, as well as working with my team. And the other thing that I love to use is right down here in front of my computer monitor is a small whiteboard that I can write tasks down on, or reminders, like as I'm having calls with people, as I'm working on things that I need to remember. And again, it's super visual. So like I see it every time I sit down. And then that way, I don't have to remember it in my brain, because I'm probably not going to remember it if that's the case. And then lastly, with all of this, something that I learned about I think it's through Brian Tracy's Getting Things Done book, I think is what it's from, is to create an inbox system. And so inside of Notion, I have a task database called Inbox. And at the end of every week, when I'm doing my weekly reset, I will add all of my whiteboard tasks into the inbox and then erase all of them. And then any outstanding tasks on my TickTick that I didn't get to, if they're business related, I'll also add them to the inbox. And then, we're starting to centralize like all of the tasks. Once they're in the inbox, part of my weekly reset is to process all of the tasks in the inbox. So that means going through and taking a look at what I actually need to do versus something that I don't really need to do and I can get rid of it. And then I schedule everything out that I want to get done and put it into my Google Calendar. So that's like it's a pretty like sophisticated system, but it definitely helps with keeping on top of everything. Tip number 4, managing emotional meltdowns. This is what this section is called. So we talked about before, like there's going to be a lot going on, and there are going to be instances where, like your brain it is running too much, too fast all the time, and you're going to reach a limit, reach your capacity. Your computer is going to freeze and it's going to shut down. We are trying to do as much as we can to help prevent that, and have the meltdowns as least often as possible, I suppose. But it might happen. And I think it's good to have in your back pocket different coping strategies to help get yourself through them gently and not beat yourself up about it, because we're humans. Like it's gonna happen, and it happens to me probably like maybe once a month, once every other month or so. I know I'm reaching my capacity and I just need to rest for a second. And so, two things that always help me where I know I am approaching a meltdown or I am currently having one or just had one is I will take a nap. I literally just I have a talk with myself and I'm like, "Look, Morgan, you need a timeout." I will go put myself in timeout and go lay down and take a nap and just be like, "Look, you just need to get horizontal for a second and turn the lights off and just relax for 1 second." That usually helps. I'll take like a 20-30 minute nap or so. And then I will also journal. So if I find that my thoughts are like racing, it helps a lot to write them down. It helps me process them. It helps me get them out of my head. And journaling, like physically writing in a journal, helps my thoughts slow down a lot. So that kind of helps to bring the meltdown down. And another thing that you could do, and this is not mental health advice by any means, but I have seen a lot of people talk to Chat GPT and just kind of tell them, here's what's going on, acting as somebody, who has mental health expertise, advise me on what to do or different like coping mechanisms. And Chat GPT can be great because it's another avenue to help you talk out your thoughts and your feelings and see where you're at with things. Chat GPT may or may not have the right answer. Like there are many instances where it can be wrong, but I think it helps you to put on your thinking cap to help you problem solve things. And last piece. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but building routines, keeping yourself on a regular schedule, it helps to keep things less stressful as much as you can. At least that's what I found for my own brain, and building routines so that you get things done that you want to get done and you take care of yourself in a way that you want to take care of yourself is really, really great. And whenever I try to create like a ton of routines with a ton of new habits, usually they don't last very long. But as I've been like learning about it and getting better at it, a couple of books that I think really talk about this well is How to Be an Imperfectionist and Atomic Habits. The first thing with starting routines and habits is just start like really small, like ridiculously small, like as easy as possible. If you want to get into journaling, make a daily habit of I'm going to journal for like 3 minutes and that's it. And you run a timer, journal for 3 minutes, and when that timer is up, you're good to go. Like, you've met your minimum for the day, and if you want to keep going, you can. But, just starting off with something super easier like reading, I'm going to read 5 pages per day. And if you make it so easy that it's kind of like silly not to do it, it makes creating these habits much easier. And then I think another thing when it comes to creating habits is everybody and their mother has opinions on what kind of habits you should be doing every day. I have opinions about that. But like you have to pay attention to what is going to make you feel good and what you feel like helps you take care of your body and your brain. It may or may not involve reading and journaling, and that's okay. Maybe it's meditation, being outside, like whatever it is, like whatever routines make you feel good and make you feel like you're like filling up your cup and resetting, add those in to your habits. Like you can always try things out, and you also have the freedom to change your habits too. If nobody's told you that recently, you have permission to change them. What's important is that you are doing things on a regular basis to take care of yourself and that make you feel good. And the last thing to help with this habit formation that I do on myself all the time is rewarding yourself. I often bribe myself to do things, and that's okay. And rewards can come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. For me, maybe it's like a fun little drink, or I love Lynn truffles. They're like my favorite. So like I'll have one of those or something. But rewarding yourself, I think, can be a great option for sticking to doing things to help support yourself. So those are 5 tips that we talked about so far today. So one, time blocking can be great. Having a regular schedule, scheduling in your self-care habits, using apps and tools to help with your productivity. So you don't just have to use your brain. You might be a paper person. that's fine. Or you might even combine like paper and technology stuff. That's cool too. Figuring out ways to manage your emotions and your energy. So, I guess basically like coping strategies, coping mechanisms to learn how to take care of yourself. And those are things you can always write down as well, like in a note on your phone. Like these are the things that normally calm down my nervous system, and help me reset. So then that way you also don't have to like try to remember that from your brain. You can write it down. And then lastly, building routines and habits to help yourself do things. It's going to help you, I think, develop the consistency that you really need to run a successful business as well. And lastly, bonus point number 6, why ADHD makes you a successful entrepreneur. And I've talked about this before as well. ADHD brains tend to think super fast. They think outside of the box. You're super creative, and that allows you to learn how to problem solve a lot faster. It helps you innovate. It helps you be ambitious and go after what you are wanting to do, and also helps you with hyper focusing on the things that you're really good at and that you like. And that hyper focus and consistency are going to help lead you to success. We usually have really high energy, high drive to get where we want to go. And lastly, people with ADHD like us, we are resilient and adaptable. We are people who typically try again and again and again and again to get where we want to go, and we can adapt to our circumstances to continue to grow. So I just want you to know that anybody out there who's watching and listening, whether you are somebody who is diagnosed with ADHD, or just like resonate with a lot of the signs and symptoms, I suppose, please just don't let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do, the goals that you have, just because of the ADHD. So I hope that this video is helpful. These are a lot of my top tips here, but if you have specific questions on how to handle different things, definitely leave a comment below. And if you are a business owner looking for more help with creating structure, organization, and routine in your business, please feel free to reach out, schedule a call with me, and I am happy to help how I can. And you'll find all the links for contact down below in the description, and we'll see you on the next video.